Good day. Today I want to present a story I wrote for a movie script. And the title of the script or movie, or just working title, is Honeycomb. Honeycomb, Teinapattu in Telugu they call it. Teinapattu or honeycomb. In this university in a big city, Professor Arya, she's a very young, energetic professor of ecology. She teaches environmental science, botany, medicinal plants, and a general group of forestry. And she guides a lot of master's students doing their master's and PhD. She is a very good, active, athletic, in her early 30s, attractive professor. And sometimes, once in 6-7 months, she takes some graduate students to a field trip to nearby forest, a big jungle, a thick jungle, to show the students in reality how the ecology operates in the forest. And one of those field trips, she carries few people to help to carry the goods, like food and shelter and campsite equipment and camps and all that, to put the to construct the small tents, to raise the tent and all that. She needs 3-4 people. But the head of that gang of people who help this is called Bhagavan. He's a comedian. He's a comedian, but he's also a crook. He's kind of villainous character I created in this story. So Professor Arya, along with around 18-20 students, graduates, boys and girls, in their early 20s, and they go in a nice van to a campsite in the forest. They set the camp, and they put the tents, and they have food, and they have lights and lanterns. A very beautiful place. And then she stays 4 or 5 days in the campsite. Every day they walk to the trek. You know, the trek means going and the walking with 2 sticks, trekking sticks. Everybody have a stick to carry because it's a very treacherous way, between the trees and between the thick forest, and then there's a lot of rocks, and then she shows some real love medicinal plants, some rare plants, some animals, wild animals in its own environment, ecology. And then she also know how to climb a tree, not climbing the old-fashioned way. They have special equipment to the canopy, the top of the tree. So she takes few students one at a time, and she sits at the top of the tree and show the whole forest from the top of the tree, from the canopy. She has the equipment. And then this fellow, Bhagavan, always proved himself, making fool of himself. And people and students laugh at him, but he doesn't get it. He's a fool. He's a comedian. He gives them jokes and laugh at himself, his own jokes. One day, they're trekking in the forest, they met a young man. He's in his early 30s, dark-skinned, muscular, a tribesman, a tribal who lives in the forest to make living, wearing the tribal clothing and long hair and some animal bones in his necklaces, and some earrings or even a nose ring, and very handsome looking. He introduces himself as a Konda. They call him Konda. His mother called him lovingly Konda, affectionately. And then he is with his a sister called Ganga. She is also in the tribal clothing. The tribal clothing, half exposed clothing with their breast and thighs. It's kind of romantic looking person. She's a beautiful looking, dark girl, innocent face, tribal girl. They introduce themselves, and then Bhagavan put an eye on the Ganga, but she looks so beautiful, and he can see some of her body parts, so she got excited. He wanted to make love with her. He's just dreaming, as if he's making love with Ganga and all that. Professor Arya requests Konda to show and give some small honeycombs, because these trees have a lot of honeycombs, tenepattu on the top of the canopy. Because she wanted to drink some honey, real honey taste, and real honey, not adulterated or they sell in the department store. He said, sure. He said, there's a lot of honeycombs on the tree tops, I'll show you. And then he climbs a tree and then he cuts with a knife without even any fire to drive the honeybees. He cut from his waist, he removes a knife and cut a chunk of honey comb and then bring it and squeeze it and give those students a taste of real honey. They all appreciate his bravery. And Professor Arya really likes Konda, And he's a handsome man, he's a very attractive man. Next day, that night Konda comes to the camp with his sister and her mother and other tribesmen. There's a big item song, sounds and dance, 6 minutes song and dance. People drumming, all tribal music, all people, tribals with their traditional dress dancing, and they give a dress, to traditional tribal dress to Professor Arya and some girls, boys, they all dance. It's an item song. And then on the way there is a big waterfall. One day Konda tells the next day that I'm going to take you to a mountain range where there is a cave. Only we, the tribals, know where it is located. It's a secret location in the mountain range where we tribals meet once in 6 months to pray. The goddess, who is in a small statue of goddess, was installed in the cave. We pray. And then I'll take you. And she's excited, They're all excited. They go. And then he walks through the thick forest to the mountain range. And then the mountain range, they reach the mouth of the cave. And then next to it, there's a big waterfall, beautiful waterfall. And then he tells the Professor Arya and students to follow him, And then he holds the hand of Professor Arya to carry into the cave, into the mouth of the cave, to the entry into the cave. There's a lot of cave divides into various sections, so you have to be careful. You don't get lost and eventually die alone. And then other students hold each other's, like a human chain, one after the other, one after the other. But Bhagavan don't want to do it. He wants to walk by himself. And Konda leaves him alone. They walk and then they reach a big hall inside the cave, beautiful big one. There's a lot of limestone formations. Most of the caves are limestone formation, stalagmites and stalagmites and all that. Stalagmite is from the floor of the mountain form, like an ant nest. You understand that? Like ant, but these are limestone shining and water dripping from those stalagmites from the roof. From ceiling, these limestone formation hang like a tree roots, but they're hanging from the roof or the ceiling. Beautiful looking cave. And then he asked the students and Professor to look at the ceiling. On the ceiling, they were shocked to see a huge honey comb. It's 20 feet long, 18 feet width, and 20 feet deep. It's hanging as a huge one. There will be hundreds of tons of honey in that. And then he showed them that honeycomb is there for hundreds of years. Our forefathers know it. But we never touch it. We never harvest from that honeycomb. That is our goddess honey. We only take honeycomb from small trees and sell in the market to the vendors, but we don't sell. We never harvest from this. And then Bhagavan put an eye on it. He got some ideas already brooding in his evil mind. And then he's watching Ganga. His eyes is always in Ganga, the beautiful dress, half-naked girl, He raises some romantic feelings on Bhagavan. And there is a big waterfall next to it, so they have a big dance, waterfall. And then the next day, only Professor Arya and Konda go to the waterfall. They have a nice kind of a half-naked dance, and Bhagavan watches from hiding, watching and all this. And then he put on the retrieving from the cave, Bhagavan is a smart fellow, so he leaves some stone as a marker so that from the mouth of the cave to the campground he knows how to go if you want to go alone to the cave, if you want to do something about that. His eyes are all on that large honeycomb and tons of honey inside. And then they return to the camp, and Professor Arya and students thank and appreciate Konda and Ganga for their help. And they invite them to come to campus to give an appearance, bring all the medicinal plants and plant species, samples and honey and animal bones and animal claw and those necklaces and dresses they make. They make it, like a handmade dresses and give a lecture. He will say, he will think about it, but he talks with a tribal accent, Ganga also. And then this fellow Bhagavan goes to a local honey shop, and the owner is a very greedy. Any shop owners want to make money. And then he tells, see, you are collecting honey from small honeycomb boxes you install in the farm and homes of the daba and the terraces collect honey. But I'll show you a location where you can collect a ton of honey from one location, you can get rich. And then he was excited, he's greedy, So they arrange a troop of people. Some are muscular, workers with some lanterns, and then with chainsaw to cut the honeycomb. They had to cut it, ladders to climb to the ceiling to cut the honeycomb, and empty barrels to collect all the honeycomb. So they bring it home, squeeze it, put it in centrifuge. You know how to extract honey from the honeycomb. There's a big machine that do that. So this fellow has it, this businessman. So one day, Bhagavan spearhead this troop to the adventure to collect all the honey without telling anybody one evening. He go to the campsite in the van, take all the equipment, carry on their back, and then he put the stone marking so you know exactly where the cave in the mountain range. So he goes there and then he entered and then Konda and Ganga see some people, strange people, like foreigners getting into the forest. They follow and then they see Bhagavan, he identifies the Bhagavan. Then he connects the dot in the mind. Okay, this fellow came for something. And then these people crew entered the cave. And then the Bhagavan showed the huge, humongous, big honeycomb to the store owner. And then that fellow was excited. He tells the people, we use the ladders to climb to the ceiling with their saw, with chainsaw to cut those things. And then you have people waiting on the floor of the cave with those empty barrels to fill those things and carry to the campsite and drive off with the van. That's the plan. So some people climb on the ladder to reach the ceiling with the fire, so that they had to put smoke to drive away with the bees. Otherwise, they cannot go close. They know the practice. They do in small scale, in small forest or in the farm areas. They do all the time. At that time, Ganga and Konda use slingshot. Slingshot is a cattle bar. Cattle bar, they use stones to frighten the birds in the farm, the cattle bar. They use it all the time. And they always carry the tribesmen or the tribal carry to get the birds, they kill it and eat it. That is how they make living, You use a stone and disturb the bees. Boy, and these bees, not millions, billions of them, because there's huge honeycomb, swarm the entire place, sting these people they fell from the ground, from the ladder, with the lanterns, and they bite and sting all the people. They run away from it, from all over there. Some people go to the waterfall and jump on the waterfall into the water and get hurt. Some people have died or falling from the high waterfall. And then meanwhile, Bhagavan watches Ganga, he want to make love with her, so she Bhagavan holds in this whole pandemonium, and the people are confused, running all around. He holds Ganga and drags to a small cave to rape her. And then, luckily, Konda sees Ganga and dragged by this Bhagavan. Bhagavan is a strong, short comedian, crook. And then he jumps on him, and then he hit him, hard, and then put him a rope around his neck and drag him to the campsite along with the. Meanwhile, all these tribesmen will gather and then capture some of the people who escaped. They put them and call cops. And this news will spread in the news. And Professor Arya came to know in the newspaper, in the TV, and everywhere. All people came to the forest, the TV men with the TV cameras and the press people. So the whole thing is a big deal, on the TV next day. She fights Bhagwan. Of course, he's in jail, along with the owner of the shop, and all the people went to jail. And Professor Arya appreciates what Konda did and how they saved the goddess honey from this hand of these evil people. And Konda accepts the invitation to visit the campus along with his sister Ganga. They come in tribal dress with the leaves and the animal hide as a shirt and like that, with all these necklaces hanging. And then they give a lecture. They draw samples of medicinal plants and other honey and other products, forest product as exhibits. And also he sang a very nice song with the Ganga, with the tribal language. It's a country music, it's a folklore music, if you will. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a big dance in the campsite with tribal. There's a big event song in the waterfall with all the students, and again just Konda and Professor Arya when Bhagwan is watching secretly. And also a nice tribal song between Konda and Ganga and the campus they sang, and the students will give a chorus, big dance. So there's a comedy provided by this fool, Bhagwan, who proves always made a fool of himself throughout the trekking, going to the campsite and to go to the forest. So the story ends in a good note, a happy note. And there's a romance evolved between Konda and Professor Arya. That is the end of the story. So this story, I wrote it for a movie. We can make it like to release on the internet, like Amazon Prime or YouTube or Netflix. Any Indians living or any South Asians living in United States, Canada, Far East, or India, or Indians who want to join with me to produce this movie to release on internet. I invite them, and I can write script. I wrote the story, I can write script. Even I may try to write some lyrics in English for songs, and they can dub in different languages, So anybody interested to collaborate with me on this project, they can contact me at subba4@msn.com. SUBBA, like number 4 @msn.com. Thank you and bye.